Thanks, Andrew. So as Andrew mentioned, my name is Finbarr Begley. I'm a senior research analyst at Cavell Group. We are a UC and telecoms focused analyst house, and I am specifically the networking infrastructure and that kind of area focused analyst with a fairly broad remit. So we're running, of course, our panel now on in-home Wi-Fi and how to get the benefit out of that. We've just heard from the panel before us that there's lots of problems with connectivity into rural business parks, but also let's face the reality that a lot of people haven't even been working in the rural business parks. They've been working out of their house. They've been having to deal with home Wi-Fi and networking issues for the past year. And of course, people are stepping up to fill in that challenge. And I have some of those people here with me today. John from WightFibre, Niall from Plume, and of course, Shan from Netgem. So we're just going to go around and let everyone introduce themselves. Why don't we start with you, John? Top of the list, maybe give us a bit of an introduction to yourself.
John Irvine, CEO of WightFibre. WightFibre is a network operator serving only the Isle of Wight. I used to come to these meetings and bill us as the last independent cable company in the UK, the only one that hadn't been subsumed by Virgin Media. We're now the 25,000 homes through a 70,000 home rollout of full fibre. We use Plume as our in-home technology solution. Hence the reason we're here today.
Okay, fantastic. Shan, what about yourself? Why don't you tell us a bit about Netgem?
Cool. Thank you very much, Finbarr. If that's okay, I will just use one slide or two as background.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let me see if that works. Should work. Can you see the screen here?
Yeah, that works.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So hi, everyone. I'm Shan Eisenberg. I look after distribution for Netgem TV in the UK and Republic of Ireland. Well, I'm always very happy to take part in those ISP events, but this time around, even more excited because it's not every day that you extend your service and launch a new service. And today we've announced in the press our first UK deployments for Netgem SuperStream, the extension from Netgem TV into whole home Wi-Fi. As some of you know, our audience is the UK altnets and the fast-growing challenger ISPs, as I call them. We're talking to everybody in the ecosystem, but so far, beyond talking, we have launched with over 15 ISPs. And the number one thing I'm hearing from those ISPs when we get at the stage of the business model and the business case, believe it or not, is not about TV so much. It's not so much about the channels, the number of channels or the streaming services. It is about cost to serve.
So Niall, why don't you give us a bit of a background on yourself?
Sure, no problem. Hopefully you can hear me, Finbarr.
Yeah.
So currently I'm helping to build Plume's channel partner program. It's expanding rapidly. For those of you who don't know Plume, the best way I can probably describe us is we're the company behind, fast, reliable internet over Wi-Fi throughout the whole home all of the time. We're a company that enables those countless uninterrupted video calls, especially critical as we're all working from home, like today for me, and I think for pretty much everybody who's joining this session, including the audience. We are a company that provides safe and secure browsing, extremely powerful parental controls, very flexible controls. We protect all of your smart gadgets from hackers, botnets, etc., protect all of your devices actually in the home using some of the world's most sophisticated security products, homegrown and also with partners like Akamai. Also, the company enables you to use motion detection, physical motion detection, to do things like check on your elderly parents. My folks live in Luton. I'm currently in Denver, Colorado, so I can check in on my elderly parents, in a kind of an unobtrusive way, right, to make sure everything's okay, and actually, probably more importantly, to be alerted when something's not okay with them. As a company, we've been around, I think, 2014, so coming up 7 years now. We're live in over 23 million homes around the globe. We add about 1 million homes a month to the cloud. And I think we're coming close to about 1 billion client devices that we're managing every day, all day. Our customer base, including WightFibre, very happy to have John as a customer. We're in excess of 170 customers around the world. We give those customers like John at WightFibre and his support team what I think are amazing customer support tools, insights into their customer base. We give them valuable information, which maybe we'll get a chance to talk about in this session. help them optimize their expenses, their capital and operational expenses.
Okay, fantastic. And I think Shan is back with us now.
I think I was punished for trying to present a slide, so I won't do that again. I think that's where it was coming from. Thanks for giving me the opportunity again, Finbarr. So I was saying, when we sign each of the 15 ISPs that we've got live, when we sign them, the question that keeps coming from at point of validation from the CEO, CFO, is the cost to serve. And the cost to serve is, okay, how many calls am I going to receive launching TV on top of my broadband? The answer, of course, is not many calls, but the calls that are received are usually around the Wi-Fi and not really about the TV, so the buffering, and therefore the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is the weak link, basically, into the smart home. I think the guys on the previous panel made the point many times. All the examples are around Zoom calls, buffering. It is the reason that make the Wi-Fi associated with the broadband quality indeed potentially an issue, and which is why with this statement we've expanded our Netgem TV service to also cover now whole home Wi-Fi. We've kept our DNA that made us successful in this space with Netgem TV. Simplicity and value. It is the centerpiece. It is instead of piling features, we've decided to focus on the simplicity of the joining and the setup experience, using the same app that people are using for TV, making sure they access quickly the Wi-Fi. And for the ISP, when they do receive a call, we've extended our device management platform to cover not just TV boxes, but the Wi-Fi pods. And that allows basically a streamline of the quality of service between TV and Wi-Fi, meaning easy for the customer service agents, were some of the benefits that Niall was talking about. And those synergies mean that in turn, we can also bring a commercial model with mesh as a service that is attractive for ISPs and allows them to attach a lot. And by attach a lot, I mean not 5%, but 50%. I know it sounds crazy, but actually we have done it in France, where we have an ISP business and where we do attach just a little bit above 50% for acquisition, just a little bit under for upgrades. Blended, it is at 50%. And this is basically what we're in the market for mass market version of Wi-Fi mesh whole home Wi-Fi. So I realize that I don't want to get into the case study of the French experience that we have, but of course I think most of the ISPA participants know us and know where to find us, and we're very happy either in the booth after the event or on one-to-one basis to explain a bit more what benefits can be expected.
Okay, that's fantastic. So we have some questions. I think we have already one question that was asked during the last panel, but was sort of more relevant to us. There is also a poll going on at the moment, which will sort of address the results of. So if you can go and fill in, that would be great. Mostly just asking what's the most important thing to your customers, especially when dealing with Wi-Fi. You know, is it the device? Is it security? Is it connection speed? So it would be really great if you can fill that out and we can discuss the results later on. I think the initial question that I saw coming into the last panel, but really is for us, is just about limitations on devices and routers. So David Rowick is asking, you know, once a customer connects to that 1 gigabyte fiber connection, where are the limitations on the router? You know, are people only offering routers that have 500 gigabits per second? You know, is there something needed there with an Ethernet cable to get that speed up higher? You know, is that where Wi-Fi is breaking down, even if you get that fiber speed into the home? So maybe John, I mean, fiber is in the name. Are you finding that's the challenge?
Yes, I echo many of the comments made in the first panel. So absolutely pointless delivering a gigabit capable connection into the home. And we have customers, we only offer 900 meg just to be certain we can exceed their expectations, and they can actually measure 900 meg. They're, you know, pointless delivering that into the home to then have a dreadful distribution of that signal around the home. And customers these days, you know, they don't call in and say my broadband's broken. They call in and say my Wi-Fi's broken. They don't differentiate between the two. So, you know, we happened across Plume because we were looking for a whole home Wi-Fi solution to spread coverage around the room, the home. And, you know, we chose Plume because it does two things. it gives us an absolutely amazing back office capability, insight down into the customer, LAN environment, all of the devices, how those devices are behaving, signal strengths, data throughputs, all sorts of things. And actually, perhaps more critically, a little app that the customer can use for themselves on a smartphone or tablet that lets them see a much simplified view of the same. So when a customer is doing a speed test measurement on a device, they can, to a point, and not all customers do this, perform their own analysis, their own self-diagnosis to figure out, oh, I'm a bit far away from the Plume SuperPod or from the router, and they can actually figure these out for themselves. And there's a slow education process in the market where people are learning that Wi-Fi is radio waves, and radio waves don't go through walls or through microwaves. So don't know if that answers the question. What Plume does do for us is, from each Plume, from the Plume SuperPod and the router, we get constant speed tests that display themselves to the customers, and we prove to the customer that they are getting the speed that they're paying for.
Yeah, and I think it does roughly answer the question. So people are getting that sort of service through their routers when they start to see the right technology come through. So I think that does address the question. But I guess it's more, and I want to focus on this because I think it's quite interesting, is the lack of differentiation between services, right? Because this is kind of like the big question as to how you monetize and capitalize on Wi-Fi is, what are people willing to pay for, and what do people at the end when they're getting this device actually see as the benefit? And I know, Shan, you mentioned this during your introduction, was that people aren't differentiating between their TV service not working and why that's happening in their Wi-Fi, which seems to be a similar challenge.
It's all part of one experience, and video streaming is at the heart of it. It is where the pain points are. I mean, much more than uploading files and secret, sending emails. And I think the education question is interesting because there's two folds to it. I mean, the education is around. You may have very good quality broadband, yet you still need Wi-Fi, a whole home Wi-Fi service on top. And I think that is the bit of education that sometimes you have to get around, because people, of course, rightfully would say, well, if I'm paying X pounds, why should I pay more to basically get the service I'm paying for in the first place? And it's a valid question to ask. There is an explanation to this. So, for example, Internet, who is one of the ISPs launching with us today in the UK, is doing luxury flats in Manchester, not massive flats, but because of and don't ask me too much about the technicalities, but the material of the walls, it still needs the whole home Wi-Fi service to bring fiber to the rooms and not just to the home. That's the bit of education. I think the bit that doesn't require necessary education is the whole the end user features of going and checking the topology and so on. So checking the topology of home, that's what I've got here in the screen here, and seeing which devices are in the red, in the amber, in the green is super helpful for agents in customer service at ISPs. And like John explained, I mean, they can do first call resolution, they can address the queries better and make the customers more satisfied. I was seeing plus 15 NPS in France on the half of the customers that are taking Wi-Fi. But then for the end users, no offense, but we are a community here which is tech enthusiasts, and we like to see that. And I go and see sometimes the topology of the Wi-Fi in my home. Most customers will not do that, I don't believe. All they want is good Wi-Fi. And I think it was John and Michael earlier in the previous panel who were saying basically the customers don't call basically, and then they are not that they don't call if they are happy basically, and they don't check if they are happy. So there's two fronts basically to the education in my view. There is the education that Wi-Fi, whole home Wi-Fi is necessary, even if the connection is good, and it has to be bundled in the price, I believe, so that people don't think, oh, I have to pay £5 extra. But then all the features and so on are that the customers access are more like a good to have, I think, for a small proportion of the population at the moment.
Yeah, so I mean, continuing on from this, so we've just had a question coming in from the audience, so maybe Niall, you can tackle this as to what the most effective method has been for educating customers once you're installing this technology, and also how you continue that education on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, great question. Can I just add on to the previous point just
of
for
course,
a second, because I've been dying to jump in. So, I mean, one of the things that we leaned in on in Plume very early on in our product architecture was separating the services that you want to monetize from the hardware that you're putting in the home. Right, the hardware in the home changes, speeds upgrade, Wi-Fi generations move on, but the services is what really the consumer interacts with, right? So we use a piece of open source technology called OpenSync that gets embedded into the piece of hardware, and then that really separates the services that the consumer's interacting with, as John mentioned, right, through the app, from the actual piece of kit in the home. So you're free to upgrade that hardware without interrupting the services that the consumer's actually using. We feel that's a very important aspect of the consumer experience going forward, right? So they really don't care less about the box that goes in the home. What they care about is what they're interacting with, and what the services they are experiencing. So just on that piece now, to come back to the education point, how do you I think the question was around informing users or
how do
customers.
You keep that education process going, both at the initial point and then moving forward from that. Correct.
So for customers that are already interacting with the Plume system, for John's customers, we provide there's a lot of information that comes through the app, for example. So if a customer has an issue, so God forbid John has a fiber cut somewhere, the consumer's internet goes down. We provide a push notification through the application so that they're not calling in to John's customer support. They're informed, they know what's going on. Okay. In terms of just general sort of education of the consumer base, yes, it's an ongoing marketing campaign to let people know that not all Wi-Fi is the same, not all in-home experience is the same, especially as people are working from home in a more consistent manner. I mean, I think I'm seeing people now being offered permanent work from home positions.
Yeah.
So yes, you have to lean into that customer education very heavily.
But Finbarr, the price. Just one last point from me on the pricing. It is so key because as we said, we all agreed that the whole home Wi-Fi is necessary for a really good ultra fast broadband experience as we move, as John was saying, from fake fiber to full fiber. But you want people to adopt that in mass, basically. And in order for that to happen, it needs to be cheap and it needs to be included in the price. Otherwise, you are going to be like 5% attach rate, and that remains anecdotal in that case because the consumers are not enjoying the experience. The CS agents can barely use the tools. It just doesn't work. In order for that to work, you need the economics that allow it, and that is in a very price-sensitive market. That is the main challenge, I think, for ISPs, finding a model that allows them to price, I guess, at £3 or below per month. And that is. And
I think that's what a lot of people, if you're coming to a talk like this and you're hearing about the new services you need to offer, you're also thinking, but I can't get that for free. How do I build that into the bundles that I'm starting to offer?
Exactly.
I need to make it aggressive. So there's one area we haven't touched on, which I think is quite interesting, and we mentioned a few times, is that with all this smart technology that's being built into these routers and Wi-Fis, there is a lot more data on customers being generated, and how both you as a service provider learn from that, but also use that for your customers' benefit, I think is quite an interesting question. John, I know we haven't heard from you in a while, but do you have any thoughts? I mean, you're collecting more data. What are you doing with it? Oh, you're on mute, John. Sorry.
My apologies. At its simplest, the most used phrase of the last 12 months, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I mean, at its simplest level, using Plume's APIs, we can track alerts that are generated within Plume around within the home poor connectivity, devices that are suffering from a poor customer experience, and actually automatically generate a case in our system for follow-up by a customer service agent. Haven't implemented that yet, but it's on our roadmap in the next 4 to 8 weeks. So there we are using data generated by Plume around customer experience score within the home to automatically create a case that we then address proactively rather than waiting for the customer to complain. Just one example.
Yeah, I mean, correcting things before the customer realizes it's a problem is a huge next step for the industry as a whole. You know,
because it is all about customer experience. Everyone on earlier was talking about, was talking exactly to that point, and providing great customer service. We're lucky, we're WightFibre. We're a small island. Our furthest customer is a 30-minute drive away. Our company ethos is because we care. We were doing truck rolls for absolutely everything, but our truck rolls now are down by over 75% because actually, to use Jurassic's example earlier, if there's a TV interfering with a Wi-Fi signal around the home, Plume will tell us that. We don't need to send an engineer out to witness it.
Yeah, and that's a drastic change in terms of data.
That's your monetization. People don't pay. People aren't willing to pay very much, if at all, for whole home Wi-Fi coverage, for parental controls, for internet security. So the monetization is the cost savings that we get, the improved customer experience, and the reduced churn that comes from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, of course, being echoed by the poll we have going on at the moment, where flawless Wi-Fi and uninterrupted coverage is overwhelmingly 50% of the votes. And of course, if you want to continue, people can vote in that, and you can see the results yourself when you've answered them. And there are, low price, connection speed, all these things are relevant, but that winner is flawless Wi-Fi and uninterrupted coverage. So we have to wrap up soon, just conscious of time. So I'm just going to go around and sort of give everyone the chance to give us their sort of closing thoughts. Niall, why don't you take us away if you've got anything else to leave us with?
Yeah, so just want to add on top of John's comments there about the customer experience and using data, to improve that customer experience. It's exactly what we do all the time. We enhance customer experience through data. John's on the Isle of Wight. He's part of the Plume cloud. His customers actually benefit from the other 23 million that the cloud learns about and learns how to interact with, whether that's from typing a device, right? We have an incredible device typing capability that allows us to build profiles for controlling those devices. So we might see a device somewhere, in some other part of the world, and then one of John's customers onboards that device onto their Wi-Fi. We already know how to control it. We use the cloud to benefit in security, in device typing, in Wi-Fi control, in many areas, right? We use that data to enhance customer experience.
I think that's really fascinating. And Shan, any closing thoughts for the audience?
No, I think it was great to hear. I mean, it seems to be such a great consensus around the fact that whole home Wi-Fi will materialize the promise of ultra-fast broadband as it gets rolled out by many, but in particular by the members of Finbarr. Let's make sure that whole home Wi-Fi is not a premium add-on that gets sometimes added, but that it is systematically there, and we build a commercial model that I believe allows ISPs to do that, and of course I encourage them to speak to us to know more about this and the special price that we will make for Finbarr members.
Nice to throw that in at the end. And finally, John, just anything else to add in?
Nothing really to add. I think I've said quite a lot. Just maybe on a personal note, if you can't holiday abroad, the Isle of Wight is a great place to visit this summer.
Yeah, I'm told it is beautiful. Scenic beaches, still English weather though, so we'll have to see. It can be good in the summer again.
You're opening a whole new debate now, Finbarr.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're not getting into that, right? England is a great place to go on holiday, or the surrounding islands. From me, I mean, this has just been a great discussion. Obviously, I have had to deal with home Wi-Fi the same as everyone else. And it doesn't always work the best. So I think this is something that everyone is going to have to tackle, and ISPs all over the country are asking how best to deal with this. If you have any follow-up questions, I'm sure our panelists are here in the event. You can reach out to them. They have booths and places where you can go and speak to them a bit more. So, please do follow up with them and have a conversation. If you want to reach me, I'll be on the platform as well. And I'm going to hand over now, I think, to Andrew, who's going to lead the next panel. So thanks, everyone, and thanks, everyone, for listening.